Are we recording? Okay, no, it's there. So welcome everyone to the March 24th, 2021 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Christo,
Present.
Mr. Gittarelli,
Present.
Mrs. Miller Herrera,
Present.
Mr. Signor,
Present.
and Mr. Thomasone.
Present.
5 present.
Okay, would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance.
Flag.
United States of America.
Republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. So this evening, our first order of business is we have a presentation of our Town of Rotterdam Draft Comprehensive Plan. And hello, Jackie, how are you? And Jackie is the Director of Planning Services for MJ Engineering and Land Surveying, PC. And Andrew Gilchrist is also here. He is a planner from MJ Engineering and Land Surveying. So I'm going to turn over the meeting to you both. And thank you very much for being here this evening. And we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor. We appreciate the opportunity to be here. If it's okay, I would like to share my screen. We do have a brief PowerPoint presentation that we would like to share with everybody. So hold on just a moment, please. Okay, and hopefully everybody can see my screen and everything is looking good. Well, thank you again, Supervisor, and thank you to the town board members for allowing us the opportunity to provide a brief update on where we are in the comprehensive plan update process. We just want to share with you a little bit about what's been going on over the course of the last year or so, including public engagement, share with you the draft vision, give a little teaser of what the content will be as we move forward with the comprehensive plan, talk about next steps. And I do want to just let any members of the public know that you can always provide comments with regard to the comprehensive plan at the email address that we have set up for this project. It's rotterdamnyplan@gmail.com. I thought I'd start with just a quick reminder of what it is we're doing. We are updating your comprehensive plan, and a comprehensive plan sets a framework for a long-term vision, and it helps to identify opportunities and challenges. It provides resources for planning initiatives and funding opportunities, and it also provides a way to track progress to implement your community's policies and priorities. So ultimately, what we do through this process is first examine your existing state, understand where we are, then working with the community through the engagement process that I'm going to outline in a little bit, figure out where you as a community want to go, where do you want to be. That's your future state, that's your vision. And then through the document itself, identify how we get there, and that's the implementation piece. And there are several tasks that we engage in and steps in the process to help us get there. So I've highlighted here that those steps in the process, we have ongoing coordination with your Comprehensive Plan Advisory Committee, the CPAC. We have had an ongoing community engagement process. I'll share a little more about that. We've done an existing conditions inventory and analysis. That's that existing state piece. We've collaborated with stakeholders and your community members, as well as the committee, to identify a vision and goals to support that vision. Again, that's your future state. And then we are in the process of working through the draft comprehensive plan document, and I'll share a little bit more about that. These first few tasks are our work as the team that's been brought on to assist the town through this with your committee and the community. The last two steps that are identified there will be when you as a town board see this document, and I'll walk through the process for that in just a minute. But once the committee has developed that draft plan, they will then hand it off to you as a legislative body. And then you will consider that plan and have the opportunity make any adjustments as you feel appropriate, and through the adoption process, also engage the community, and then ultimately, hopefully, adopt the plan. So I thought it would be helpful to just share a few quick highlights of the engagement opportunities that, that we've already had through this process. And this is all important because it really helps to shape and inform the process and inform the vision and inform the update of the document itself. So we kicked this process off back in the fall of 2019. We had an initial townwide public workshop at Fire District number 6. We had over 70 attendees. This was back when we could all be in a big room collaborating together. Yes, we miss those days and looking forward to getting back to those days. We also had what we call pop-up stations. So this is where we went into the community to try to gather information from folks and to ask people questions and to let them know the process was going on. We had a pop-up station in October of 2019 at the Senior Health and Wellness event. We were able to connect with your schools. December 11th, we had a pop-up at the Shelmont School Concert, and on the 12th of December at Mahonison School Concert. We also were able to collaborate with the Shelmont students through Syracuse University course that the students were engaged in, and they created their own survey, and they created the questions, they conducted the survey, they had over 200 respondents, and we were able to incorporate that information into the process. We've also held stakeholder group meetings. Again, this is when we could be in person, probably some of the last few in-person meetings that we had with the community. That was February of 2020. Different groups ranging from transportation and infrastructure to history, culture, to open space and recreation. Really great opportunity for our team to learn about your community. We also held a second public workshop in Fire District number 1. We wanted to make sure that we were, covering the geography of your community by having public workshops in a variety of different locations. And then we also had a broader online community survey, February through April of last year, and we had over 200 respondents to that. We then did have to shift, as everybody did, from the in-person setting into the virtual setting. And I will say that COVID has impacted the schedule for the process, but the process has been continuing to move forward. And I think that's a true testament to the dedication and the commitment of the Comprehensive Plan Committee that this board appointed in terms of wanting to try and move forward and moving forward in the most effective way as we could. So we held a virtual public meeting number 3, where we shared the draft vision and draft vision map, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. That was in October of 2020. We also had another online survey to gather input from the community about the vision and the vision map, and happy to report that was in the fall of 2020, and we had over 360 respondents of that. And in addition to all this engagement, we've also had a number of committee meetings. They're all open to the public. And we've been utilizing the Zoom webinar function since April for those meetings. So all of that input, and the reason that I wanted to just highlight all of that input is that it really played a big role and was really the driver for identifying what that draft vision is for your community moving forward. And so there's a lot of text on this slide, and I do know we provided this, so this I believe is available. We can also post it to the project website as well, but I want to highlight some of the key elements here. So in the future, this is what the community is aspiring to be: a thriving, inclusive, friendly community, celebrating the diversity of people and neighborhoods, a desirable place to live, work, and play. Locally owned businesses, walkable neighborhoods, excellent schools, vibrant commercial corridors, active industrial areas, supporting a tax base, and a high quality of life. Rotterdam is accessible to and from major destinations, housing choices to accommodate all generations, celebrating a rich history and natural resources, and providing options for people of all ages to connect with nature and each other. So there is a wide range of elements within this vision. And to help shape that and illustrate that, we prepared a vision map. So this is a representation tying that vision back to your built environment, back to kind of on the ground. What does this mean? And so in some of the highlights, and again, the draft plan will go into detail about all of this and identify recommendations for consideration. But really, we're looking at, those pink dotted lines are what we're calling corridor mixed use. So looking at opportunities to enhance those key transportation and commercial corridors, connecting to your neighborhoods. The blue dotted line up near the junction is really looking at what we're calling Hamlet Center mixed use, so a smaller scale enhancements within that area. We are looking at mixed use nodes. So these are some key nodes that already exist and really are kind of mini centers, if you will, from the Carmen Road, Hamburg Street area, the Curry, Altamont Ave, Five Corners, the Western Gateway. These are all familiar, I'm very sure, to everyone that's on the meeting tonight. So looking at ways to really enhance those and create that identity. There's a unique identity already for each of these, but how do you improve upon that? We wanted to recognize the importance of the key regional access points to the community to allow people to come into the community, whether it's to live or work, or perhaps shop in the future, and also for people to live in the community and travel elsewhere if they need to. And then a good portion of the community, what we heard is that it's about maintaining and enhancing that character that already exists. So, those existing neighborhoods and connections, those active industrial areas, that agriculture and those natural resources that you have in a large part of your community, and then also the parks and recreation areas. And so all of this will be described in a draft comprehensive plan document. And I'm happy to say that an early draft, a preliminary draft, has been shared just this week with the committee. And so the committee will be reviewing that. And then once we have gone through reiterations of that draft, it will be made available to the public. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit. But this is the general outline of the plan. So it'll describe a little bit about the process, what a comprehensive plan is. It'll describe the vision and that series of goals to support the vision, as well as the vision map. And then it includes a series of recommendations for each of those vision map components, because they are very specific and unique. In addition to that, we have what we're calling additional recommendations by topic areas. There are a series of other recommendations that really apply more town-wide. And so we wanted to make sure to identify those, everything from transportation and mobility, history, culture and community, governance and infrastructure and economic growth are examples of topic areas where there are additional recommendations. And then an important piece of it is the implementation section. So working to identify priority actions and an implementation matrix so you can track the progress of your comprehensive plan implementation. So in terms of next steps, the committee will be working to review the draft plan. We will be holding additional committee meetings, again, that are open to the public, and that will occur as needed. We will be having another meeting in April. And then ultimately, once the committee is comfortable with the recommendations in the plan, we will be scheduling a public hearing for the committee. This is a requirement, and quite honestly, this is the minimum requirement for public engagement for a committee developing a comprehensive plan is a minimum of one public hearing. So that will be scheduled at some point in the future. I do encourage you to kind of follow along. Once the committee is comfortable, they have taken into account any public comment, made any modifications as they feel is appropriate, they will advance the draft plan to this board. And at that point, there's another process that starts in terms of the adoption process for the town board to consider. As I mentioned before, you as a board can modify whatever you think is appropriate in the plan. You will be required to hold a public hearing as well under town law. You will be required to comply with the State Environmental Quality Review Act or SEQR, and then also the County Planning Board referral. So those are some of the next steps. So there's still work to be done, but there has been a substantial amount of work done by your committee and community so far. And I do want to point out, again, we do have a project web site, and it is rotterdamnyplan.com. So for anyone that's listening in that hasn't had a chance to follow along, all of our previous meeting summaries, and once we've gone virtual, the meeting recordings, all of the meeting presentations, they're all available on this website, as are summaries from the surveys that have been conducted as well. And you can always email comments at any point in time to rotterdamnyplan@gmail.com, and we share those with the committee as they come in. So that was a very brief highlight update. I know you have a lot on your agenda tonight. That's what we have to share with you this evening, and we are more than happy to answer any questions if you have at this time. And I'll turn it back to you, Supervisor.
Thanks very much. I just want to, first of all, commend you and Andrew, and commend the Comprehensive Plan Committee for all of their work. They've really done a great job. You've all done a great job for us. I know that we had talked about, what the required meetings were, if you will, or required public hearings and so on. And, going back some time ago, I know that we had also talked about the potential of having some additional meetings particularly through the adoption process. And so that's something that we'll talk maybe a little bit more about, to really put together a more comprehensive schedule, not to keep using that word, but a comprehensive schedule, so that we can also get that maybe wired a little early for the public to know that we're going to be holding these other meetings, in the near future as well. Because as we talked about in the past, between, in particular, Rotterdam Junction, where we had that meeting some time ago now, it's quite a while ago, but there was great engagement there, and the other meetings that you had with the public, there was great engagement. I think that, again, as we go through the adoption in particular, we should probably revisit our schedule and look at some of that, because of, hopefully we don't have to do it this way, but if we do have to do it this way, then we'll have probably some additional meetings this way. I would much rather have them in person, because I think they go much better. So if we can go out there again, maybe hit one or two of the firehouses as well here in town, and again through the adoption process in particular, because I think that's where we'll get more engagement when we involve the public to say, this is what our vision is from what you told us. This is what our vision is. Do you concur? And to get that buy-in, I think is instrumental, not just for our board here, for the rest of, particularly this year. We have got a lot more coming as far as some projects, and but the future, particularly if we're going to go out 25A with SOAR, and that's going to really bring in a lot more potential development and jobs and everything, and housing options and so on. So I want to thank you. I don't know if any of the board members have questions, but I'd like to kind of keep it brief here, because we do have a decent agenda tonight. But if any of the other board members have comments or a quick question for Jackie, please go ahead. Unmute yourself. Mr. Gittarelli.
I have a quick question. Jackie, the surveys you did and the respondent results, I looked on the website. Are they posted anywhere where it says, X number of people said they wanted to see more sidewalks? This many people said they didn't want to see this or want to see this. Is that anywhere on the website?
Yes. And Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you go under documents, the documents tab on the website. There's existing documents, and if you scroll down, there is a summary of the survey where we kind of hit the highlights of each of the questions, and then the raw survey results are also there. So you can see all of the comments, including those questions that were open-ended, where you can, folks could add in their input. Andrew, that is correct, right? Where it's located?
I'm on that page. Documents, you said?
Yes, I believe if you scroll down.
So it's on the maps and reports page.
Oh, maps and reports. Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the online surveys or online survey summaries are there.
I think I looked everywhere but there. All right.
Okay, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, Mr. Signor or Ms. Miller Herrera?
No, very impressed by the job that they've done.
No, I don't have any questions, but thank you for the presentation. You're so enthusiastic about it.
I agree.
We enjoy what we do.
We're very appreciative. I don't know if Mr. Christou, you may not have any comments either. All right. Well, thank you very much for the
Thank you.
presentation this evening.
Yeah,
I
thank
really
you.
appreciate
Thank you,
it.
everyone.
All right, have a good evening. Thank you.
You as well, and we'll be in touch. And again, thanks to the committee members as well. Really appreciate your engagement and your help. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
So this evening, I'm going to, now we're going to go to a public hearing. Ms. Marco, would you please read the public hearing for us?
The public hearing will be held electronically via a video conference for the town board and a conference call for all members of the public upon adoption of a proposed local law of the year 2021 for the following purpose. Local law blank of 2021 entitled Chapter 51, Police Reform and Reinvention.
Okay, so at this time, I'm opening the public hearing for the potential adoption of a local law of 2021 entitled Chapter 51, Police Reform and Reinvention. Is there anyone from the public that would like to be heard? And I would just like to say that you have 4 minutes to bring up your comments and concerns. And if you could please keep them brief. And you do still have an option to engage with us through the RotterdamPD.com website as well to leave comments there. So anyone, if you would unmute yourself and speak up, state your name and address for the record.
Hi, this is Jack Dodson, 1311 Cipriana Terrace.
Yes.
I just want to follow up from the board meeting a couple of weeks ago. I just was looking for some insight relative to some of the statistics and graphs that are in the back of the report, specifically relating to domestic violence, the larceny, robbery, and assaults. And, looking at that data, I could understand potentially domestic violence up with COVID, even though it was down in the data. But I did see a significant increase in the larceny and assault. And I'm just curious to know if the numbers are so small that 2 or 3 increased assaults or robbery results in 200% and 400% increases. If I could just get some feedback on that.
Sure. We'll engage with the, if you don't mind, we'll engage with the command staff that is on the call with us here this evening at the end here. Get everybody's comments first, if that's okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else this evening like to be heard on the public hearing for the potential local law entitled Chapter 51, Police Reform and Reinvention? Just go ahead and unmute yourself and speak up. That's okay. Anyone? I see TG is unmuted. I don't know if you intend to speak. I wanted to give you that opportunity. You unmuted yourself to speak. Ms. McGurl, do you see anyone on your end that has unmuted or asked to unmute? No.
I don't. I think people are unmuting and then remuting themselves. You have currently 34 participants on the call, so not everyone is on the screen.
Right. I just want to make sure here. I'm just going to go back to the second page again, just to be sure. So if you're on the phone, I think you have to hit *6 to unmute yourself if you want to engage with us. I think that's what it is. Anyone? You know how I am. I don't like to close public hearings right away because I always feel like we're gonna end up with a comment or question. So at this point, we're still in the public hearing, but Deputy Chief, would you mind just, I know that you brought, when I say you, that the chief and yourself and the command staff had brought up, and I'm not sure if the chief is back on or not, that had brought up in the past the results of some of the graphs, if you will, and information that's there, and that there may be some validity to some of those increases, but they're small numbers. Would you refer to that for us? You're muted, Chief, Deputy Chief. You're muted. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so with relation to what would be considered an increase in larcenies, I believe the question was from year over year from 19 to 2020. What I can say is during that time frame, we did have a rash of larcenies from vehicles. So what that means is typically in the middle of the night, early morning hours, people are going through the neighborhood, checking for unlocked doors on vehicles and removing items from within those vehicles. You will also see an increase in stolen vehicles during that same time frame, and that was due to the same thing. They're entering those vehicles, oftentimes locating keys within the vehicle and stealing those vehicles. So that would be the answer for that question.
Thank you very much.
I don't know if I answered the question, Mr. Dotson, but if you have any other further questions, let me know.
Yeah, I recall that from the, I think it was the first collaborative meeting that those concerns were brought up, and that was the explanation there too. And I think you gave some examples of, again, people leaving their keys in their cars and people taking them for a ride and sometimes delivering them back, I think, at some point. So it's kind of interesting.
And I guess to explain the, so for instance, the increase of where it says 700%, that may be a little misleading, but it is accurate. So in September of 2019, there were 0 stolen vehicles. And in September of 2020, there were 7.
All right. Anyone else under public hearing entitled Chapter 51, Police Reform and Reinvention? Anyone else have any comments that they would like to make this evening? Public hearing. Okay, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. Mr. Christo, did you have any comments? No? Just in case you do, I don't want to.
He's muted.
Okay, he's going back and forth. He'll be. I think that means no. All right. I'm going to declare the public hearing closed at this time. Then, thank you very much for your comments, and appreciate it very, very much. So, public hearing 1, or public hearing regarding the Chapter 51 Police Reform and Reinvention is closed. Thank you very much. So now we'll go to public comment, privilege of the floor. And here is, if you have any concerns that you have, any discussion or questions about any of the resolutions that are before us this evening. Again, you have approximately 4 minutes to bring up your comments and concerns, and we will ask you to also state your name and address for the record. Is there anyone that would like to be heard on the public comment privilege of the floor this evening?
Supervisor, again, it's Jack Dotson, 1311 Cipriana Terrace.
Yes.
I'll just have 4 quick items. I'd like to go back to the resolution that's been tabled relative to the DOT agreement. And the question I have for the board, again, is there's been over the last several years questions and concerns relating to DOT property within the town that hasn't been maintained very well. And I'm wondering if this agreement, again, sets a precedent that those areas are indeed going to be maintained by the town and have control so that the gateways in our town can look nice. And I guess the question is the Hamburg Street circle also an agreement that says you have to maintain it in light of the fact that Larry went there and removed all that stuff makes me inclined to think that indeed the town of Rotterdam is responsible for these areas. So that's my first question. Second one relates to the agreement with Prime. Yeah, the question I have there, and this is on the May Avenue tank. Very confusing agreement modification, particularly when it references sanitary sewer improvements for water. And I'm concerned that seldom are, agreements commingled between water and sewer. And maybe that's just a typographical error that needs to be corrected. And then the other thing I see in here is the transfer of monies, again, in a final design stage relating to grant and finance administration of about 89,000. A lot of times they're lump sum, and it's confusing and for me to see this kind of transfer. So maybe you could provide some insight on that. In addition to that, there's two resolutions in here, and I know we talked about them relative to IT. And again, I don't know if this is a typographical error, but when I see advanced engineering support for IT, I'm thinking initially that, hey, we're going to do some improvements to the police and judicial buildings, similar to the town hall. And I realize as I get into it, it's for IT services. So maybe again, it was just a mistake, but and lastly, I asked this at the last meeting, is if there is a timetable to return to in-person meetings. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor? Could unmute yourself. And again, go ahead.
Mr. Supervisor,
yes,
can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you fine.
This is Mr. Godlewski, 1046 Manus Drive. I have a question on the resolution concerning Conti Appraisal and Consulting. Mm-hmm. The way this is written, I assume you have the agreement. I don't see the agreement attached to this resolution. And I'm curious if there are any dollar limits, number one, what the time frame of the agreement is, and quote, what are the various properties? It's kind of ambiguous, and I'd just like to add one note to what Mr. Dotson's asking. I believe, Mr. Supervisor, that roundabout on Hammer Street was approved in 2009 when you were supervisor. It's my understanding that the town is responsible for that vegetation or any plantings that are in the roundabout, and it has always been that way, so that should not be a question. I look forward to your answers on my questions.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
What did he answer? Wait a minute, what did he answer?
I will answer.
I mean, wait a minute, you had a dialogue with Mr. Dotson, but I want to know now, under privilege of the floor, for in case I'm not satisfied with your answer, I can ask the question. My 4 minutes is not up.
It's your right to ask the questions, and I promise you I will answer. We did have an agenda review where we went through some of these, and I will bring those up. I promise you when I engage in the discussion here with the board.
But Mr. Thomasone, this is privilege of the floor for if I want to ask a further question after you answer my questions. How do you know I'm going to be satisfied with the answer you give me? I can't have a dialogue. That's what privilege of the floor is for. That people can talk to the board and have a dialogue. It's not ask the question, cut the taxpayer off, then give a response that the taxpayer can't rebuke or ask any more questions. I mean, I do have 4 minutes, and it shouldn't take you that long to answer what's in that agreement.
I'm affording you your time. I'm affording you your time, and I'll discuss this again under when we vote on this resolution. I don't want to discuss at this point. I want to hear if anyone else has any public comments, because they remain to that answer.
Well, what you're really saying is discussion implies a two-way discussion, all right? You want to have a one-way, so that's really just spitting the facts out that nobody can review. I'll be listening.
Thank you. Anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor this evening?
Robert Gagliardi.
Sure, go ahead, sir. Could you state your name and
Ro-
your address for the record too, Mr. Gagliardi, please?
Yes, sir. Robert Gagliardi, 1114 Inner Drive.
Yes, sir.
I just got some questions. I got a couple questions. One's pertaining to a fire hydrant on Patton Drive and the forest. It's at the corner. It's been leaking for over 3 years now at a pretty steady click. And I think we figured out that, you know, how many gallons of water that's wasted, not to mention just, I mean, it's not good to have a fire hydrant leaking, I would assume, but it's now going on 3 years and that's not addressed. The other thing is the circle on Hamburg Street. It looks like, you know, a prison designed it. Now, hold on 1 second here. I'm trying to.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, my phone got locked up. So the circle, you know, it used to have nice flowers in it. I think it was volunteers that put them in there. And now somebody decided, whoever that may be, to tear everything out and put a bunch of rocks. I understand that makes it easier for maintenance, but the sign when everybody walks in or drives into Rotterdam says a nice place to live. It doesn't look like a nice place to live. I've been in Rotterdam 41 years of my life. I plan on staying here for quite a bit longer until I'm kicked out or something. At the end of the day, I don't know one entrance that our town that looks anywhere near a nice place to enter. And now this traffic circle that I just noticed recently went from having nice flowers that were going to bloom and it was taken care of by volunteers. I believe Stephen Parks and some watch group or whatever. But, you know, they spent a lot of time out there and just somebody all of a sudden, I don't know, who, you know, was there a vote that we're going to take everything out of there and just make it look like the entrance to like a prison camp or something like that? If there's a reason, there's a reason. But if it's for maintenance, we can talk about that. And that brings me up to my next point. Today, I took a little solo tour. I don't know who knows, but I'm on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, whatever we do. I think we need to do some more advising because I went by myself today to 6 of the parks. I went to Pansy, Boxwood, Memorial, Firo, Jaraca, maybe 5. And every park there has it. I wouldn't even let Jack play there. It's just it's none of them. I went to Scotia, Collins Park. Their parks are up and running in full swing. No safety hazards that I've seen. They're playing basketball. They're playing tennis. That's another county park. Central Park in Schenectady, full swing. People playing basketball. Memorial Ave has a sewer out front that's missing bricks. A baby can fall in there. I mean, if there was a baby there that wasn't holding a parent's hand, but you know, it's on the backside facing the gate. I mean, this is the park right at the end of the street everybody goes to go to town hall. And that seems like that's the worst condition park. It just seems so unsafe. The old water fountains are falling apart. They're broke. They're dismantled. There's graffiti all over. The child swing doesn't even have the harnesses in it anymore. Boxwood Park, I don't think a kid can run there without tripping over, you know, sticks and branches. Pansy Park has a hole in the gate. I could drive a truck through it 10 foot from the train tracks. I mean, you get a parent that's going there. There's one entrance to the park. They're reading a book in the bench, hoping the tree branches that are just hanging in the tree there don't fall on them. They're watching the gate, their kid's playing. 2 seconds later, they hear a train. They look over, and there's their kid out the back. On the Pansy Street side fence, there's somebody mended the fence back together with chicken wire. There's sharp edges all over, sharp little prongs sticking out. I posted a video of all the parks. I'll be happy to share it with anybody that wants to see it or has already seen it. It's just, I don't understand what our town is. I really don't. I've lived here all my life and I just don't get it. And I'm just talking about the aesthetics. I'm not going to get into the water mains and the other stuff because obviously that's a little more technical than I got the knowledge of at this point. But, you know, when you got a nice place to live on a sign and it doesn't look nice, I mean, Adult World coming up Altamont Avenue is our entrance to there. Getting off 890 is an old abandoned mall. Crane Street is Walmart, which is fine, but it's Crane Street. I mean, anywhere you come, Carmen Road, you know, you're coming in that way now. You get off 890. It looks so blah. It looks so blah. Sure, the tree is going to grow leaves on it. And then you got, you know, wherever you come in, it just doesn't remind me of a nice place to live. The looks of it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, let me just say something to you. So I want to comment on what you've said, and I promise you I will do that and I hear you loud and clear, and I'll comment when you're done. I want to forward other people. There's a lot of people in the meeting here tonight, and I want to give other people the ability to speak as well. If you want, you can reach out. You know, if you want to reach out to me directly, please do through email I did see an email exchange, I think today with you, and we can talk about those things on the parks together if you like.
Yeah, my main thing is I just want the town to look nice. If it's supposed to be nice, let's make it look nice so people have pride in it.
Me too. Agreed.
You know, and I'm sure everybody does, but there's got to be a plan to put it together.
Yes.
You know? So, that's it. So now what? Star 6?
Thank you. If you would. Thank you.
Thank you for your time, everybody. Have a good night.
Anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor this evening? Want to mute yourself and anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor?
Yes, can I speak?
Mr. Lamar, yes.
Yes, I just like to bring attention to the roundabout, the facts of the roundabout, that we are obligated as a town to maintain that. When the state did put it in, it was turned over to the town for maintenance. In the past, the roundabout, when it was put in new, yes, did look what the state did put in. And then there was people, volunteers, I believe it was Steve Parks and the Rotterdam Watch and people, they were putting flowers in and trying to maintain that. But then we have a problem with that. Legally, they can't do that. They're in a state right of way. There's insurance purposes. They have to be applicated with the state to be able to work in any state right of way. So as that had happened in the past and they haven't gone back, weeds have grown over, the mulch has deteriorated. It started looking like a mess. We're the highway department. We try to maintain things to everything of the best of our ability and with the staffing we have. So what we did there, we took all the bad mulch out. We took the plants that were dead and overgrown with weeds. There was some flaggage that people put up, little American flags. A lot of the sticks were broken. Time goes by, things deteriorate. We took them flags properly to the VFW hall, and they've properly disposed of them. The roundabout we did in the late fall, took all the mess and all the weeds and everything that was in there, cleaned it up, and I put down fabric, put down the stone, and cleaned it up. It's much, much neater. And also with the fact we're still not finished. It's the winter has not ended. We could get a snowstorm next week. But the thing of it is, the plants that they did put around that edge by the curbing around there, most of them were dead from what's happening when the state goes by. Even the brick pavement there that's not roadway gets salted and snow is removed. And it kills the vegetation in there. And it won't always regrow the next year. And we ended up with the weed problem. And so with that, we put down fabric into stone. We're trying to make it maintenance free. But now it is always, springtime comes. I do plan on at the lower base, below the trees, once the trees get leaves on them, it's going to look a little better. But the lower base, I'd like to put 3-4 plants around the circle and just have to maintain them. And yes, it will, I will try to decorate it, but I can't do nothing when the ground is still yet got some frost in it and nothing's gonna grow right now. The florist shops, I mean, I don't have the ability to put plants in there right now, make them look beautiful. When we're really talking, we just got into spring. So give me a little more time. The place is gonna look beautiful. I mean, we've had several people stop, call the highway department. They would like to see the same type thing being done in other areas. So that's what I'd like to say about that.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Lamora. Okay, anyone else under the public comment privilege of the floor this evening?
May I speak under privilege of the floor?
Sure. Ms. Miller Herrera, go ahead.
I would just like to speak to the roundabout issue because I've received several complaints and I'm probably the catalyst for it coming up. And, my concern came up because we had a resolution on tonight's agenda that's been tabled about accepting responsibility for another roundabout. When I came on the board, I was not aware that we were responsible for that roundabout. And I watched it go into, I don't want to say disrepair, but I know that residents were taking the time to go there and weed it out and keep it up on their own. And at some point I reached out and asked who was supposed to be maintaining it. And I was told the state, and I took it upon myself to reach out to the state and find out that it was in fact given to us and it was our responsibility. So up until July 12th, 2019, the town was not maintaining that. And so to say that plants died or that whatever, it was being maintained by volunteers, it was because nobody was accepting responsibility for it. The state sent me the plans, the agreement, the resolution that gave it to the town. So I am grateful that those volunteers took the time to maintain that land and to make it look beautiful. And I have a real difficult time accepting that that it has gone in this direction so quickly under on our watch. So between July 12th, 2019 and today, all that shrubbery, all the stuff that was put in there was not maintained. Those weeds came in because we weren't taking care of it. As so frequently we see in this town, we have beautiful pocket parks that are not maintained. We have areas at major intersections that are not maintained, that have weeds that grow taller than me, and I'm almost 6 feet tall. Sometimes, I have family who is not from the area and they come into the area, they get off the highway, they come here and they kind of look at it like, and they're coming, and excuse the commentary, but they come into the area and the first thing they see are the exits from our highways that we have so many of. We're about to accept another one. And if we can't take care of it and we don't have a plan to take care of it, then we should not be accepting it. Or we should reach out to DOT about an alternative plan that we are capable of maintaining, because they're using our tax dollars to put it in. And then we're using town money to maybe not maintain it, maybe maintain it. I think that's ridiculous. And I think we need to do better. We need to do better in our parks. We need to do better at our intersections, and we need to do better with the things that are given to us by other levels of government. Otherwise, we need to stop asking for it.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor? You want to unmute yourself? I'm going to address a lot of these comments if I can, while we're going
Steve,
through
if I could just interject real quick. I didn't know Samantha was that tall, but other than that, I have nothing.
Okay.
Well, I mean, that's because you can't always see to the top of my head.
Okay, so let's move forward.
Sorry.
Okay, so now.
Supervisor, can I make a comment?
Go ahead.
So in response to Mr. Gagliardi, thank you for your comments and the work you put in. I know you're high energy and you're passionate about it, and I appreciate it. So we have had some emails in the last few days, and I was just hoping he could send that list that you comprised today. I mentioned in one of the emails, we're actually doing parks tour tomorrow. Samantha and myself and some other people from DPW to kind of get a grip on everything. So as Larry said, winter just ended. We still have snow piles melting in some of them, and there still is a frost in the ground, I think. So things are muddy. But I really would appreciate if between now and then you could somehow get me that list and we can add it to the list we have going. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor?
I don't know if you can hear me, but I'd be more than happy to come with that tour with you.
What time will you be doing that?
Saying we're 8:30 scheduled.
I think it's 8:30, but I can't remember which park we're starting at.
I think it was Memorial.
Okay.
8:30 Memorial Park.
Yeah.
And, okay.
I take my coffee, cream and sugar. Just
Anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor?
I'll buy a box of coffee.
Anyone else under,
you don't need to.
anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor? Anyone else under public comment privilege of the floor? Okay, all right. I'd like to move into the resolutions. We have several to go through here this evening, and so I'm going to declare our public comment section of the meeting closed at this time and move into the resolution. So, Ms. Marco, would you please start with the first resolution?
A resolution amending the Rotterdam Town Board meeting schedule.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
A motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Christie. And anyone on the question? The question, this is the meeting schedule has just been amended to add the meeting that we're going to have on April 1st of 2021 at 5:30 p.m. That's the change, just so everyone knows. And we'll have a new, I know it's on the website, but we'll have a new PDF put together that includes that additional meeting. It's back up here, but it's already on the website as far as I know. So anyone else under that? No? Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera,
I just want to explain my vote. I'm going to vote yes because we're adding a meeting on April Fool's Day. So yes.
Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomason.
Yes,
5 yes.
thank you. So resolution passes. Next resolution, please.
A resolution appointing a police officer.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Supervisor, I'll make the motion.
A motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is that right?
I might have beat her out, but I'll let her have it because she has a baby in her
Or
hands.
was it? Oh, Ms. Miller Herrera, I think. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Christou, a second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo,
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli,
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera,
Yes.
Mr. Signor,
Yes.
and Mr. Thomason.
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, and Deputy Chief Joshua, I think, is on with us. Joshua, I want to welcome you here, and resolution passes. So, Deputy Chief, do you want to say anything here at this point or swear him in ceremonially? Or
Sure. I'll just say that we had a recent retirement of a police officer. It was an unexpected retirement. And therefore, it made it difficult for us to, and it would have prolonged the process to hire and put a officer through the academy. So we decided to take candidates from current police officers. We interviewed 4 candidates. Josh is a police officer in the city of Amsterdam. He has been so for approximately 3 years. We did a background check, an interview process, and he was selected from our command staff for the position. So Josh, if you're here, I'll give you the oath of office. Can you hear me, Josh?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, I can hear you. All right, so I'm going to ask that you raise your right hand, and I'm going to trust that you are because I cannot see you. And repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Joshua Navratil,
Do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of police officer.
I will faithfully discharge the duties. So sorry, it's hard to hear you. Duties of police officer
Okay, you're correct. All right, according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Congratulations to you and your family.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Welcome, Joshua.
Congratulations.
Is there anything that you'd like to say? And you can say nothing, and that's okay. You can say thank you or whatever you like, but is there anything that you'd like to say before we move on?
I thank you for the opportunity to work for the town. I really appreciate it.
You're very welcome, and appreciate it.
And welcome to the town.
Yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Now we have a consent agenda. We would need a motion for the consent agenda first, and then a motion for the vote. So anyone on the consent agenda?
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to accept the remaining resolutions as a consent agenda.
Motion by Mr. Chris, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Okay. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll to accept the consent agenda?
Mr. Christo? Mr. Christo? We'll come back.
Yes, yes.
Okay, Mr. Gitterelli?
I'm not in favor of the one about shifting the funds, the $88,000. I'd like to see more information as previously discussed on that project. But other than that, I'm good with the other ones.
Okay. Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
So it's all yes for everything except for the one that Joe voted no on.
That's not,
No.
that's not permissible.
No.
Joe,
Well,
so you
then
have
what do
to
you
say
do?
yes or no, or abstain, or make a motion.
He said no. I thought
He said
no.
no.
He was bringing up the consent agenda.
Joe, didn't you say no for that?
I said
Yes,
no.
but it's 4 yes and 1 no on the motion.
Right.
So the motion carries.
Oh, okay, sorry. I got you. We're
Good.
yes, one. Gotcha.
Nothing gets taken out, Diane.
I got
Does that
you.
make sense?
Sorry
Yeah.
about that.
It's okay. So now we have, now we need a motion to vote on the consent agenda, please.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion, we vote the consent agenda, please.
And second by Mr. Signor. Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, my hand didn't say much, but I did, yeah. I'll second it.
Okay. I thought that's what you were doing. I'm sorry. Okay. So we have a motion by Mr. Christian, a second by Mr. Signor. So on a couple of these resolutions, just going to say a few things, and then I'll at the end, I'm going to make a couple of comments under miscellaneous here on the parks and some of those other items. But as far as the roundabouts go, yes, the town is responsible for the roundabouts. That's a highway department responsibility because it's highway. There are certain requirements, or if you will, rules that we have to follow, what we can put there, what we can't. We'll touch on all that. We did table that resolution this evening during our agenda review. So the resolution for that New York State Department of Transportation agreement was tabled, and we'll work on that and put it on a future agenda. Yes, the entrances to the town, we're talking about mix of uses, and we have, because of COVID, if you recall last year even with our bicentennial, there were things we couldn't do because of COVID, but there are some other items, if you will, that we're working on to make some beautification. And again, we'll talk about that at a future meeting. The item with Conti appraisals, this is something, as I described during the agenda meeting. I'm not going to execute a contract, enter into a contract or anything yet. I'm going to bring it before the board for their review and approval. And there are properties in town that may be good use and good fit for parks. What I am going to do is and I will avail the board of where these pieces of property are, but I do not want to put the town or the property owners in a bad bargaining position. The town cannot pay more than appraised value for property. And again, I would not be able to do anything without the board's approval. But I am going to be working with Conti Appraisal to just basically develop a framework and a contract, and I'll be bringing that back to the board. But I have to have them understand where these properties are for them to give us a price on how much the appraisal will cost, because some of these properties may be agricultural, they may be residential, they may be industrial, there may be a mix of what they're zoned as right now. And so there's a value to those properties under, you know, how they're used right now and what they are right now. So that's all I can say, because we don't want to put ourselves in a position where the town would not be able to negotiate in a fair manner. And I don't want to put property owners at a disadvantage either, particularly property owners that may be adjacent to these properties. So I have to say it like that. That's all I can say at this point to that. And there, as far as the detail on that KB group, we discussed that earlier too, and we'll get that some other detail for the board, but know that these changes are within the Environmental Facilities Corporation, who is overseeing this project with us, and so on. So, you know, is there possible that we're moving different infrastructure around? Sure. You know, it depends on what's there, whether we're talking about water and or wastewater. Those things happen and they have to be inspected, especially if we're talking about fixing water lines. Sometimes those lines are you know, nearby, or they have to be reworked. I'm trying to remember the other. Took some notes here. I think that's it. And again, I'm going to address the parks matter and the hydrants matter a little bit at the end here, if that's okay. Any of the board members have anything under discussion now for this on the consent agenda?
So, Mr. Supervisor, this is an all or nothing vote. Like I asked for that one to be maybe voted on separately.
It is, but I thought you said you voted no to the consent agenda. That's what I understood.
Well, I was more just to get that one out, and then I would be in favor of the rest.
I mean, I can't, you know, we've already moved that, the entire consent. We have to rewind everything here to do that. Can we vote on the consent agenda? We have a motion by Mr. Christo and a second by Mr. Signor. Can we move ahead?
Can I take the vote, Steve?
I think so, unless we have other discussion. Yeah. I'm sorry, Mr. Guidarelli. So please.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Abstain from this then.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
And Mr. Thomaso?
Yes.
So 4 yes and 1 abstained.
Okay, so those resolutions all pass. Now, on under committee reports and miscellaneous, just about parks and other items. So, you know, we when over the last 4 years, we've made tremendous improvements to the parks, new basketball courts, resurfaced the tennis courts. There's been work to the baseball fields and a number of other things. And a lot of what Mr. Gagliardi and others have brought up here, as far as the, we'll call them the more specific issues. Part of it is that, you know, when it comes to the park cleanup and whatnot, again, you know, I'm guilty of this too. You know, we have a few days where the weather turns and it's really nice, and we want to get out there and get everything done very, very quickly. And we do, and we will. I did meet with our parks supervisor about a week and a half ago at the Parks Department. They had built a couple of dozen or more new picnic tables. There's a lot of work that they were already working on. They've ordered a lot of park equipment already. The issue with, unfortunately, with those swing sets, and Ms. Miller Herrera brings this up to me quite often for the toddlers, is that for whatever reason, people are cutting those straps off. We're looking at some other options instead of having those there. You know, they're harnesses for the kids, so they don't fall out, obviously. And as far as some of the, I'll call it the more detail items, no question, there's a lot more work to be done. We've already marked trees to be cut down in some of these areas. And so you'll see a lot of that happen. But I greatly appreciate that people are as concerned and frankly, willing to help, particularly in our parks. That's no question. I live in the area here where my family goes to Pansy Park quite often, and my grandson loves to play there. So, but you're right. So a lot of work will be done. You'll see all that those kinds of things accomplished, and keep us. Nothing wrong with calling us, keeping us responsible and accountable. Absolutely. And as far as the entrances to town, we had started early last year on some new signage for the entrances. And frankly, that all got stifled because of COVID. We have to get either property owner approval and or DOT approval in all of those areas in order to put new signage up. But that's still in the works, and we'll probably have that done before the year is out. So I hear you loud and clear. We all do. We love our town, and I appreciate again people's attention and to keep us accountable. As far as the fire hydrants go, the one at Patton and DeForest and some other areas of the town where they leak, and you're right, they do lose water, but they operate. They're operable, and some are not. So the ones that are not, they're covered. For example, they just our water sewer maintenance department just replaced the one on, I think it's Duanesburg Road and Harold Street there on the corner, working on replacing the ones that are bagged on Rival Road. I think they were out there today working on those. So right, the weather's changed. It's become more cooperative right now. Our people are already out getting a lot of this work done. But again, it doesn't hurt to bring it up, obviously.
Mr. Supervisor, if I may, on the hydrant, because
hang on a second. I forgot. So on Patton and DeForest and some of these other areas, it's old pipe on the ground, but more importantly, there's no valves to shut off that hydrant. So that has to be wet cut, is what they call wet cut. We're scheduling that. It may be scheduled already, but we're scheduling that and some other spots like that where we have to bring somebody in to do that, to make those repairs, help us make those repairs. And then on the getting something here that somebody brought up. I thought I took enough notes, but go ahead, Mr. Christou.
Well, just referring to the hydrants, what I have learned, because I've inquired as well, and it's a very common question from our residents. I think that what a lot of the public doesn't understand or realize is the fact that it's not just taking that piece of hydrant that you see visibly. Okay. I think that, again, many of them do not have shut off valves. Many of them, you've got to dig down right down to the main line in order to properly make the repair. So I believe there is a priority list that has been printed and been accepted. And I believe that the water sewer department is going to be addressing them one at a time. And again, manpower is a concern. Some of it is going to have to involve bringing people from the outside, but it's just not a matter of replacing that red and white piece that people physically see. There could be 8-10 feet of pipe that needs to be addressed.
Or more, yeah. So right, and so there's a lot to it. But again, bring it up, and so just to bring up something else on our website, and for some time now, the board's talked about it. Mr. Christou, Ms. Miller Herrera, Mr. Guidarelli, Mr. Signor, and I, and our town staff. There is a spot now on our front page that basically says see something, say something, and there you can report a hydrant, you can report an issue with the roadway, you can report an issue if your light's out for National Grid, that goes to National Grid. So
Code violations. Thank you. Code violations,
and that's important to us, obviously, because it's important to you. Oftentimes, people will just reach out to one of us or more than one of us via email or a phone call and say, I see this, can you help me with that? If it's a code enforcement violation, for example, or perceived code enforcement violation. And we all follow up, and I'll say this, if you're frustrated, I'm not saying this to be flippant or anything, imagine how we feel. And I mean that sincerely. We talk amongst ourselves quite often about all the things that need to happen here and how quickly we want to get them all done. And we can be very impatient ourselves. And but now the spring is here. It's getting here. I thought we were getting it with a roar, but it seems like it might slow down a little bit into next week. But know that all these projects are on the forefront. The things are being accomplished. And again, please do not hesitate to involve yourself with any of us or with, by engaging us through the website in any way possible. So, and as far as reopening and the basketball courts and those kinds of things, putting the hoops up, that's going to happen very soon. Sometime next month, we'll have those courts back, the basketball hoops up. I really want to ensure that we are in a position where we don't, have anyone, be frank, get sick from COVID. And we want to make sure that we're abiding by the state rules and guidelines. And so, that having said that, we will be doing that. As far as being, having in-person meetings again, that's going to happen soon as well. Probably more so at the senior center than at the at town hall because of the, if we get a lot of rain, we do have a couple of leaks there. We're addressing that too. So all that's going to be taken care of. But, again, I want you to be patient with us. We know that there are issues there. Some of them have been around for a while and others are new. And, but short term, we're going to resolve them. So for the long term. So I appreciate your patience and I hope I answered everyone. If I haven't, please give me a call tomorrow or send me an email. I appreciate, and I'll call, I'll reply or call you.
Mr. Supervisor.
Go ahead.
In regard to the senior center and opening, I've received a couple inquiries as to when the senior programs may be getting back up and running and when the seniors may have access to the senior center. So what are we looking at for that? I know the courts are pending.
Yeah, I'm going to say, just if you don't mind, bring that up with Beth and Paula tomorrow. I do know that they're on top of that. They're putting that together for us. So if you would mind engaging with them, our biggest concern there is just the idea of being there and making sure that we're complying with the COVID regulations to get people's temperature, to make sure, all those things. It's just not perfect. And we know that, but I would ask you to engage with them. And there's still some work that has to be done with the access to the building as far as the fobbing and stuff like that. So we've got those issues to just kind of button up, but there is some outside work that'll be done at the senior center this year as well.
Okay. Yeah. And I will reach out to them.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Thank you.
Sure. Anyone else under miscellaneous or committee reports tonight?
Excuse me. One more thing back to the seniors.
Sure, go ahead.
As far as responsibility of that grounds and some of the cleanup, we had that meeting there the other night and I noticed the dumpster was kind of overflowing and it looks like it's probably not even our stuff in there. But who would I reach out in regard to that?
Talk to Paula about that too. I'm going to say to you that I believe that those boxes were, I'll stand corrected, but I know that they were banana boxes. I think they were in there. Yeah. I do recall seeing some of those cardboard boxes like that with material, and this is some time ago, so they might not be the same ones.
Oh, okay.
From before that had material, some stuff that was being stored in one of the rooms there. So I know, again, to Paula's and Kevin's credit, and our DPW or Parks staff, they've been over there helping clean things out. They're painting. They're moving a lot of stuff around. We want to get everybody back in there. The veterans are they want to get back in there. Our folks want to get back in there and play pool. And you still owe me a pool game, but we'll have to have Steve come in and referee that. But
I played a winner.
Yeah. So there's all those things. I think that we've got to, again, inquire with the people that are responsible for those departments, because they know right away. But to your point, there's not a lock on that, and that's another issue that we can bring up and just talk to County Waste, I believe is who gives us that, and we can talk to them about putting in a different dumpster there with a lock on it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Supervisor Thomas, when you have a hand that's raised.
Ms. Breer, go ahead. I know that. What's your question? Hopefully I can answer it quickly.
Yeah, I might have missed it, but did you guys actually vote to adopt the police reform plan?
No, not
No.
this evening. That'll be on April 1st, the 5:30 meeting that we have scheduled.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, sure. That's easy. Okay, anyone else under the, from miscellaneous board members, anything else you want to bring up? Okay, we got a motion for adjournment, or are we going to, we have something else we want to talk about tonight?
Supervisor, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Miller Herrera.
Yeah, again.
Okay, you got beat out again. All in favor to adjourn, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay, thank you everyone for attending the meeting tonight. And,
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good night, all.
Good night, all.
Be safe, everyone.
Ciao.